There's really two things that are special about Rangeley. One is how untouched it is, and the natural beauty, it just pops out at you. I hear this from a lot of people that, they come up from a week of work, and as soon as they pull into their driveway or they pull into the hotel, they're immediately relaxed when they get here. So it's the land, it's the environment, but the second thing are the people. It's a community. And so you feel that community. So not only are you experiencing the beauty that the Rangeley Lakes has, but you're welcomed in by the people. And I think, that's what makes this place so special.
When we started out, we were very much interested in the land and conserving the land and making sure that we had preserved the environment for generations to come.
The trust was actually started because Boise Cascade, which owned the mill in Rumford and owned the west shore of Cupsuptic and a mile on Mooselook, decided that they were going to develop that whole shore.
We put together a small group of people who were on a friend's porch, and we basically said, gee, we wanted to preserve the characteristics of this area, and what could we do about it? One of my friends said, well, surely we know somebody who can stop this. And we decided we didn't know anybody. And another friend said, well, why don't we start a land trust? And so we conceived the Rangeley Lakes Heritage Trust. This was on a Saturday, and on Monday, I went and called on Boise Cascade and said, I'm the president of the newly formed Rangeley Lakes Heritage Trust, and we'd like to buy your land.
We figured out then how to get enough of a grant from the Forest Legacy Project and do a couple of other things. So we ended up paying them what they would have gotten if they developed the whole area.
Well, I remember being up at Aquasic 20 years ago or so and talking about this with a wonderful project that was done, and it has to be a collaboration. At that time, as I recall, it was the Land Trust, the Land for Maine's Future program, Forest Legacy. I think Boise Cascade was involved, several other of the landowners. I mean, it was all working together, and that's the only way things like this can work. In my experience, any major project involves partnership.
A little bit after the project on the west shore of Mooselook, the developer who had been working with Boise tried to get a contract to buy Bald Mountain, and Ed got wind of that and put together a group of 4 of us, and we actually went to the paper company and they agreed to sell us the mountain for $3,000 more than the developer was offering.
Come on, buddy.
So eventually we were able to sell it to the state and basically protect it as a hiking trail for the Rangeley area.
This land is your land. I'd like to use that comment a lot, and I think that a lot of the lands that we manage, whether they're in fee or in easements, it is for the benefit of the community, right down from the 7-acre parcel to the 1,200-acre parcel. There's something here for everybody. If a property is not accessible to the public because it's small and it's private, it doesn't mean that there's not a benefit. The benefit comes in the form of habitat, places for our wildlife to be.
As we evolved, we quickly realized that we needed to have the community involved and make sure that all of our lands were accessible for many, many kinds of outdoor recreation. We have snowmobiles on our land right now. We have cross-country skiing on our land. We have all kinds of water sports that are on the lands that we preserved. We also looked at the children of the community, and we were worried about the fact that the children in the summertime were spending most of their time indoors because their parents were working 24/7 in order to make a living. So we had kids who were being parked in front of TVs, and we didn't think that was the right thing to do. And so we expanded our operation and started a camp called EcoVenture.
Yeah, so I started at EcoVenture, I think in around 2003 maybe. I believe I was in 5th grade, and I was in the Hawk group. I'll never forget our little chant. We were Hawk Seas are the best. And it was so fun. We really got to explore an area that we live in. We live maybe 30 minutes south of Rangeley, but our parents are busy, and we never really got to go on these hikes or canoe trips or kayaking or anything like that. So it was a really great way to explore our surroundings and meet a lot of really wonderful people too.
One of the very different things that our organization was involved in was the designation and subsequent funding of improvements under the National Scenic Byways program of the roadways that access and surround the Rangeley region. Over a period of about a decade, there were approximately $5 million in improvements to the roadways themselves, as well as visitor opportunities in the form of scenic vistas, educational signage, rest facilities, and picnic areas and the like.
I think that it's an impressive sight. When you come around the corner, you can't help but stop. I said to somebody this morning, we were talking about it, and remarked about how it was almost like a picture of heaven. We had all the people there, congressmen's offices, the local supporters. Ed was there, and Rebecca, and the whole team of people were there, and everybody was working to break ground. But in protecting that site, which is our biggest responsibility, I'm very proud that we do have that preserved and conserved for future generations.
One of our ideas at the very beginning of the trust was to try to do conservation projects in a way that would work with economic development in the Rangeley region. And we were trying to protect what were the critical natural resource values of the area, but still do it in a way that would promote the economic development of the area.
And working with M&H for instance, in Seven Islands, who is our forester, we've been able to create some economic activity by sustaining the forest and being very careful about how we use that resource and how we cut the wood and how we get the forest to keep coming back. So we believe that we're benefiting the local economy, and we want to continue to do that. It's very important to us.
We work closely with the area businesses in concert with the Chamber of Commerce in this region, and there are a number of businesses in the areas who can fulfill whatever needs we may have, whether it be logging practices or construction improvements.
And a great example is M&H, who we've worked with them on a number of projects. Probably the most significant project that we worked with them on was the campground, the Cupsuptic campground.
This is where they keep all the boats for all the campers, and we dug it out a few years ago there so they could have a place to get into. It was all filled with sand all the way up through here. They had to filled in over the years. Then we just had to reclaim it and take it out. We've done the Rangeley Overlook as you come in on Rangeley. The new overlook there, it's very nice. Oh, good for the Rangeley economy, that's for sure. Yes, gave us a lot of work. We've done a lot of work in South Bog Stream and Cupsuptic River, helping restore the fish.
At certain times of year, and we say down in my office, we say from ice out to school's out. The local economy is highly dependent on the fishery resource here. We're at South Bog Stream, which enters the southwest end of Rangeley Lake. And at this spot, and 6 other spots, the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife worked with the Heritage Trust on improving brook trout habitat in the stream. South Bog Stream is the primary spawning stream for Rangeley Lake historically, and past forest practices basically changed the entire channel of the stream such that it widened it out. Too much shallow water took away all the trout habitat.
Well, we built wooden cribs into the river and narrowed the stream up actually, so the water would go faster and the fish like that. They made some weirs like a V. They would just want to see which one would work better and last longer.
The long and the short of it is that been a huge success in terms of putting the pieces back together on something that was pretty well broken. And it was the partnership that did that with the Heritage Trust.
It's been good. One of the things that we certainly appreciate from the board side for our crew is that Rangeley Lakes puts people on the ground and they actually do the inspections. And a lot of the area that we operate on, we see and know well. But when you get to the 3,000 and some of the more distant acres, it's very nice to have somebody else recording and noting, and if there's an issue, dumping or something of the sort, we're apt to hear it through them. So they've been very good partners.
There are a couple of things that we've done that are different. We bought a campground years ago. That's not something that land trusts typically do.
We obtained a significant amount of grant funding and did infrastructure improvements to the entire campground. We pulled the campsites that had traditionally been right on the shoreline back off of that and opened all of that area up to common public day use, as well as use by the folks who are camping there. So people in the community have now discovered to come out there for the day.
They come, they use the beach, they have a cookout, use our picnic tables, swim in the lake, and go home. So that's a different sort of community involvement.
You like camping?
We felt it was really important for us to bring that community piece into our mission, specifically into our mission, so that as we move forward, we're focused on the community and what we can do to bring the whole community together. And so that's going to be a very important part of our mission as we move forward.
We monitor currently 16 area lakes and ponds for 2 purposes. One is to assess and collect data on the long-term water quality trends of those water bodies.
We'll compare what we're getting for surface temperature and oxygen readings.
The second is we survey those to determine what are the native aquatic plant species that are inhabiting the lakes, and really to be vigilant and on the lookout for the presence or introduction of invasives to the water bodies, which can be devastating.
19.5 and 10.4.
We've been fortunate. We haven't identified any infestations, and also through our courtesy boat inspection program, where we staff ramps during the busier times to help educate boaters about the dangers of bringing plants into or taking plants out of a lake.
So you said everything's been cleaned up and your live wells
like I said, I watched everything yesterday, as a matter of fact. So.
Excellent.
We virtually had interceptions of invasive plants prior to entering these water bodies every summer that we've stopped them.
Having these special places is part of what is the building blocks for Maine's future. We're heading into a future where people are going to be able to work wherever they want. They're going to be able to live wherever they want and then keep their jobs with them. And so they're going to go to the nice places. And having the resources and the protection that the Land Trust has brought to that region in the long run is going to be an important economic asset as well as an aesthetic and environmental asset.
I think all of us who love this area as much as it's possible to love a place, I think Rangeley Lakes Heritage Trust has done as much as it's possible to do to try to protect the essential quality of this area.
They can get stuff done that nobody else can get done. A lot of projects they've done in town that they get done that a lot of people couldn't get done, the state, the towns, and they've come in and got them done.
And I think there's a tremendous amount of talent, so I think that's key. That's a key, and we've got to recognize that key, because things aren't going to last if we don't have that local support and buy-in and really drive from the local community.
For youth, their summer camp activities have been Eco Venture has been surprising to some, maybe, the fact that when you're a resident in Rangeley doesn't mean you get into the woods. Well, this is one way that the avenue is open for kids to really learn and see what's in their backyard.
And the biggest goal that we have as a board going forward is to make sure that we take care of what's already been done. And we want to make sure that we have the financial wherewithal to do that, and that we have the support of the community and our members.